You're listening to the Behind Ears podcast, because everybody does Disney differently. The Behind Ears podcast crew would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support. If you have a little one and you're going to Walt Disney World, you're going to need a stroller. I'll tell you what, KingdomStrollers.com is the place where you want to look into. I'll tell you, I've destroyed my fair share of strollers while at Walt Disney World, and those things are not cheap. But getting something from KingdomStrollers.com, they'll be able to help you pick out the perfect stroller for you. And the nice part is that because they're a Disney preferred provider, they'll be able to drop it off and pick it up right from your Disney resort at no extra charge. So if you don't want to necessarily destroy your stroller in the process and you want to have a great Disney vacation with your little one, contact KingdomStrollers.com and they'll set you right up. That's KingdomStrollers.com. Do you want to save around 40% off Disney's prices for deluxe on-property accommodations? Contact DVC-rental.com. They help out Disney Vacation Club owners rent out points that they're not going to use. These points mean savings for you on your next trip at Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Vero Beach, Florida, and Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. The DVC member books everything in your name, just like any other reservation. And if you ever decide that you want to become a DVC member, you can check out our sister company, BuyAndSellDVC.com. As a licensed realtor, they sell DVC contracts for members at a savings of 30 to 40% off Disney's prices. And if you're looking to sell your contract, BuyAndSellDVC.com has one of the industry's lowest commissions at only 6.5%. Again, that's DVC-rental.com for your rental needs, and BuyAndSellDVC.com to buy or sell into the Disney Vacation Club at a large discount. And make sure you tell them that the Behind Ears podcast crew sent you.
Attention wizards and witches. The Expedition Roasters head roastmaster is pleased to announce the release of 4 new wizarding brews. Are you charming and courageous, book-smart and brilliant, big-hearted and kind, or possibly cunning and ambitious? You may have to try all 4 to find out which house roast you belong to. So cast a transporting spell over to Expeditionroasters.com to begin your journey. And don't forget to continue your adventure with our large selection of pop culture-inspired themed coffees. There's always an adventure in every bag. Behind the Ears podcast fans, be sure to use the code EARS20 for 20% off your first order. That's EARS20 at Expeditionroasters.com. Brew, your happy place.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Ears podcast. I'm Uncle Danny. That is Mr. Chris. We are coming to you live from... We should get a sponsor call for our studio. That'd be cool. We're coming to you live from our homes. Outside of that, everything's swell. Everything's good. We've got some fun listener questions, some interesting Disney news, some things that will scratch your head, some things you're going to be like, well, I don't really care about, and other things you're going to be like, that's interesting. So, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing really pretty well. I mean, it's been really crazy for the past several days. My week ended not so at work. I took some time away from work, spent it with my family over the weekend. And got crazy at work for the last couple days again. So, hey, you know what? I'm just glad that it's Tuesday. We get to have a chat with all of our Disney friends tonight. And, to be very honest, I am just really pumped up, excited to be here and to chat about things. Danny, would you like to start off with a listener question that would be a time for some good discussion, as well as to possibly get some input from our viewing community?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So, over at the WDW community page, we have a new friend of ours that joined over there, and her name is Kendra. And
hello, Kendra.
Hello, Kendra. And Kendra normally listens to us over on Spotify, which if you are a Spotify fan, is just another way that you can listen to our show. which is really, really super duper cool. That's actually been available only for a few months now, but we're really glad to be featured over at Spotify. So basically she asks this. She goes, "Hi everyone, I'm new to the group and was wondering, since you all seem to go to Walt Disney World frequently, if you can help me with a question. If this is the wrong venue to ask things, please let me know." Oh, Kendra, this is always the venue. I'm going back to Disney with my daughter, but my husband has agreed to finally go with us. He is not good with crowds and lines at all. And she kind of put "at all" as a separate sentence. I want this to be a trip that he will enjoy so I can hopefully get him to go back afterwards. Is there a certain time of year or a resort that you would recommend for a first-timer who may never return based on crowds? Thanks. Kendra, you have come to the right place. Everybody is entitled to our opinion. So this is an interesting question, and I know that we've already had some people chime in right off the bat with the early months of the year, January and February. I even mentioned, a few weeks after Easter, but before Memorial Day. And there were some people that were also saying, hey, also don't forget, just be careful of the crowds that come in from Run Disney events and some other youth style events, especially in January. I know, was it last year you went in the March-ish timeframe? Is that correct? Isn't that
end of February? I went Princess Weekend.
That's what I meant. I meant end of February, not March, because that was when. Yes,
the year before I was in March.
Okay, so first off, I wanted to hear what your opinion was about that time of year, because I would also say around the Halloween time, but lately I have been seeing pictures of crowds like no other here in the fall, which I will admit, I'm a little surprised. I don't know. What do you think?
It's a tough question, because I've always was a big proponent to tell people go in October, and October has become a very busy month with Disney ramping up their Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, and Universal really pumping out the Haunted Horror Nights that has been driving a lot of people down there, because they're like, hey, we could bring the kids down, go to Mickey's Not So Scary, and then the adults can shoot over and go do Horror Nights, and we're just seeing an influx of people. So I would take that out. March was a really nice time. Weather was great. It wasn't overly hot, wasn't too chilly. But the problem with March has been getting is you got to be careful, because a lot of different districts in whatever state they're in start to have spring breaks or Easter breaks, whatever they want to call. And now that Disney has been ramping up the Flower and Garden Festival, the weekends, like the Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, have been very busy in and around Epcot. The thing is, the one thing that caught my eye about the question was my husband doesn't like long lines,
right,
and doesn't like big crowds,
right.
It's Disney, though. And I would love to tell you, hey, you can go on. I mean, we've seen pictures some days where certain websites will say it's the lowest crowd possible and you can't move. Then days that are supposed to be crowded end up being ghost towns because one park is heavier than the other,
or something like that.
I would say February.
I would think that February is a good time, and
early.
Yeah, early. And I've done early February, and it can get kind of brisk in the evening, especially if you're near a body of water. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're waiting for illuminations, the interesting part is that lagoon, it's big enough to really catch a little bit of a breeze and catch some of that cooling effect. So you can get chilly around there. But you know what? Going back to the whole thing with lines, one of the comments I made was just the idea that it's all about preparation, mental preparation. If you don't like lines, you're not going to be walking onto a lot of attractions. I mean, you're really just not going to. But I would probably say this is a case where you would prepare yourself mentally, have things to do in line. I know we've recently talked about that, and we'll touch on that in a second. But, don't look at the lines as downtime. Look at the lines as a time to really hang out as a family. And I think that is I think a lot of people miss out on a lot of that good family time and family conversations in a 30-minute time period. 30, maybe even 45 minutes. Use fast passes obviously for really good stuff, but enjoy the lines. We were talking the other day about playing Heads Up. I was kind of goofing around with that the other day. Heads Up on your phone. Get it downloaded and get the special Disney pack while you're at Disney. The thing of it is that, no one likes lines. Megan's right. But the thing is that, there's a difference between a line that's 45 minutes long, wait to go down test track, versus 2 hours for Flight of Passage, which I've done. Last year I did 2 hours for Flight of Passage because I had no other choice. I did it. And I'll just say that.
My biggest tip for her would be to start Googling or contact us on the side, and we can gladly help set you up for this. Figure out when things are going on, because it seems lately things are changing a lot. I have a lot of people telling me, don't go early February because you've got the cheer competitions. I know Gordon and his family just booked because they're doing the cheer competitions at Disney this year, and they're actually in the first week of December. I've got Bailey saying best time to go is the first week of December. Oh, wait a minute, there's cheer competitions. Didn't know that. Not the best time to go anymore. The best thing to do is breakdown. We can get you a breakdown if you'd like. You can email us at behindthespodcast@gmail.com or simply Google it, whichever you prefer to do. Get the breakdown for all the list of things that are going to be coming. Go on touring. What is that? Not touring plan.
Touring plan.
It is touring plan.
Mm-hmm.
Check this. I mean, granted, they're not 100% accurate.
None of those services are 100% accurate.
No. Figure out what they're saying for each time slot. The best thing to do is, if I were you, I would get a TA, a travel agent, someone good in the business that knows these type of things. If not, if you prefer to do it yourself, that's perfectly fine. Then just be prepared to do your homework, because this is not a normal trip for you. If you are really trying to get your husband on the Disney train, for the future, you need to set him up right with this trip. Which would another thing too is, it's going to sound crazy, and this is a long shot. When's the rainy season in Disney?
It's usually the summer. I mean, the fact of the matter is that in the early spring, you can go pretty decently in the sense of in between storms. In the fall, it's a little bit hit or miss. December tends to be way hit or miss, especially when it gets colder. So
I would take the shot like this. So if you went late August, it's Africa hot. Let's be honest. It feels like you're in the middle of a jungle. I've got family who lives just an hour and a half south of it, or actually a little bit more south than that, but they call it Africa hot because it's just so dense. If you go late August, most kids are back in school, if not getting ready to go back to school. So we're hearing a lot of feedback that it's really the crowds are less at that time of year. You'll still get the last couple families trying to scramble to get a last minute vacation in, but also with the rain, I'm the type of person where rain's not going to bother me, and Disney really doesn't have that many outside rides like a Six Flags does that would get shut down for rain. It's going to sound crazy, but the rainier the better, because most people scatter, and that gives you a better opportunity to have less lines. But it is still rain.
The interesting thing is that, first off, I want to make mention of something. The rules are a little bit different at Disneyland because most of their attractions are actually outside. Just kind of make sure that people understand that. Whole different rule set. Now, I've been in February. I really like it. In fact, I actually did Disney cruise first part of February, and I still liked it, even though the water at Castaway Cay was just a wee bit nipply. Did I say nipply?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to say chilly and nippy. Forgive me, that was a slip.
No, that's a real saying.
Really?
Oh, is it not? Have I been saying it wrong my entire life?
I didn't want it to sound like I was being offensive to anybody.
Oh, stop. Let's keep going.
Okay. Anyway, so, it's one of those cases. Now, the thing of it is this, anytime that you can go is going to be a good time. And I will also say that in the beginning part of December, when there are some kids sports teams, events and stuff like that, I've been down there during that time. And to be very honest with you, Danny, I didn't notice a huge uptick in crowds because most of those kids, they're doing their thing over at the ESPN Wide World of Sports. Now, granted, a lot of them do stay at the All-Stars Resort, so you kind of have to watch out for that. But the fact of the matter is that I never really, I never really had a problem with it. I will say this, though. Disney has cracked down a lot on rogue cheerisms, and I say it like that, because there used to be a time where cheerleaders would go kind of crazy, and they would, they would do cheers in the middle of, I'll say, the middle of the bridge over Splash Mountain.
Wow.
And you couldn't get around them and stuff like that, and you really, I hate to say this, but you kind of wanted to go poof, just kind of watch them tumble down type of thing. No, I'm just kidding. I have to watch out because I kind of felt that way until my daughter became a cheerleader. But she never acted like that. But it really actually, I think they're well behaved in most cases. Yeah, you kind of have to watch out once in a while. But I never found the student groups in the beginning of December to be a real problem. I found the taping of the Christmas program, or the Christmas parade, to be more of an issue, which that's really not an issue anymore because they're kind of doing it differently these days. Go figure. So
moving over to the idea of where to stay. Now, I don't know your finances. I don't know what your budget is. So I'm going to assume that you're just an average spender. I'm going to assume that you can spend an average amount. If you could swing a deluxe, that's a different ballgame. We can have an hour conversation on which deluxe is better to stay at. And I'm going to assume that, so I'm going to take deluxe out. And I'm going to assume that if you're the average goer and you want to impress your husband, you're not going to want to put him in a value. Nothing wrong with values. Let's just take values out. That would leave you dead smack at moderates. And I think at moderates, you really can't go wrong right now. Coronado and Caribbean are currently still under construction. I know Gordon was asking me that. They are both of them still under construction, with technically no date of when they're going to be coming out of it. Now, granted, you got to remember during the construction dates, just a public service announcement, they're only doing 8 to 5, 8 to 6. They're basically, well, you're in the park, they're working.
Yeah.
So it's, unless you're a late sleeper and like me, excuse me, you shouldn't be affected by it. But if you have a young child and they take naps in the middle of the day, might be an issue, but nothing at night will be an issue. So say you want to toss those two out. You're like, I don't want to deal with construction. Well, you've got Riverside, you've got French Quarter, which are technically connected. Either one of those to me. One, you can get a little more New Orleans flair. But I think it's a little more dated personally compared to Riverside. Both have great bars at night, great restaurants at night, great entertainment at night. I would probably lean the entertainment because Yeehaw Bob over to French Quarter.
Riverside.
But excuse me, I would lean it towards Riverside because of Yeehaw Bob. I would lean the food back to French Quarter. But once again, standard room wise, pretty solid views, beautiful courtyards, and this in between the two. So not the end of the world there. That's where I would be content with what
Yeah.
you guys say. Would be one of those.
And not to mention, you got a nice boat over to Disney Springs, so you got other dining options right over there. And to be very honest, I would probably say if you're going to try to make a really nice, lasting impression, you can't go wrong with either one of the resorts. But if you want something a little more intimate, something that only has one bus stop, something that is not a very long walk from anything to anything, French Quarter is going to be your choice. And
Riverside has like 4 bus stops.
Yeah, Riverside's a little bit more spread out, but it's not like, it's not like gargantuanly huge. It's not like it's going to be a problem going from place to place. But I would probably say I like the pool a little bit better at Riverside, but not, that's just more from a theming perspective. Both pools are very, very nice. Both have easy water access to the boats. As you said, both have really good dining. Riverside has Boat Rights, which is a table service eatery. So I would probably say stay at French Quarter. Don't forget to enjoy Riverside as well. And but if you do want to spend a little bit more, you could either look at the I'll say the cheaper deluxes, which is going to be like, well, I shouldn't say deluxes. The cheapest deluxe tends to be Wilderness Lodge. But also you can find some really good deals over at Animal Kingdom Lodge as well, which those are really special places. I would actually lean towards Animal Kingdom Lodge rather than Wilderness Lodge if I'm trying to make an impression for somebody. And if you're going to stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge, seriously, you might as well look at, renting DVC points. Check out dvc-rental.com, one of our sponsors, because you can save some cash if you're in that budgetary, bracket, so to speak, of what you want to spend. You can save some good coin and actually get a nice room. And if it's just the 3 of you, your hubby, yourself, your daughter, those rooms are really nice sized for it. So
yeah,
take that into consideration. I think either way you can do really well.
Yeah. Oh, you can make a killing by renting DVC points. I mean, you're giving up a couple little amenities, but at the end of the day, those amenities, you're saving so much money on a deluxe. It's not even
it's
fathomable.
You can live without it. I want to go ahead and point out what Rachel just mentioned there in the comments section. She mentions, I'm doing pop early in December for the first time. A little nervous. I hope it isn't overflowing with teams. Rachel, I don't want to make you nervous, but the thing of it is that most of the teams tend to stay like All-Stars Sports, All-Star Movies, All-Star Music. Can it float over into pop? Yes, it can. However, I think that it probably is not really going to be too big of a deal. As I said, they're usually really busy during the day for sure. Depending on what your plans are, I don't think you'll have any issue with, like, if you wanted to go enjoy the pool, first off, during the day is going to be better than during the night, because it does kind of get a little chilly. And while the pools are heated, you're going to probably want to spend more pool time during the day. And guess what? Those athletes will not necessarily be around during the day. Do the pool during the day if it's warm enough, and then enjoy the, nighttime spectaculars or wherever at your park of your choice later that evening. It probably won't be a problem. Don't be nervous.
Now, I will say the one thing to be a little concerning is pop is for football teams only this year, no cheerleaders. So cheerleaders tend to be a little bit busier during competitions compared to football teams, where if you play early in the morning, you might have a long break. But once again, they shouldn't be that big of an issue. The hotels are usually pretty good at, sitting down, talking with the groups, letting them know there's quiet hours, and they'll work with you. Not saying terrible things don't happen, because it's not only the sport groups, it could be other, nationalities traveling in large groups. We hear the horror stories. Disney's pretty good at working with you guys. I think the biggest thing you might see a little bit of a slack on, maybe a little bit of noise later in the evening. I would anticipate certain times for food. If you're waking up early in the morning, you want to eat, or in the evening for dinner, you might wait a little bit longer because of the influx of people.
Or walk over the bridge over to Art of Animation and enjoy their food court, which I think is better than Pop.
You could. And also, the buses might be a little tied up. That would be the extent of where I would be concerned. But outside of that, I think you'll be fine.
Now, the thing is like in December, I think it's the Pop Warner football teams that are going to be partaking during that time. There's one thing to be said about Pop Warner. They actually hold their athletes to a code of conduct. And that's one of those things where I think that it's been a big help in dealing with those those student athletes, in the sense of they don't necessarily go crazy. They have a good time, just like any other kid. But the problem is it really shouldn't be a problem. They really do, at least in my opinion and in my experience, have behaved themselves well. I hope that your mileage does not vary too much from my past experiences as well.
And I know, Gordon, you wanted to talk about Christmas. We'll touch on that maybe later this week or Tuesday, because that's an entire show in itself. And I really want to, and I know you are trying. He's booking his trip for the first week of December, and they're trying to decide on if pros and cons of doing it. Just give us a little bit of time. If it's going to be an issue, we do apologize. We could try to maybe move it to Thursday, but that's going to be an entire show in itself, and we really, really want to get to you and be able to answer that question fully. As we move on to the next topic, Chris and myself and the entire Behind the Ears podcast team and the WDW community would like to congratulate all the runners, whether it was 5K, 10K, the half marathon, over wine and dine this weekend. Some of the people that we personally knew that were running was Nicholas, Jessica, Alex, Trisan, Christopher. We also were lucky enough to post it in our community and got some more people. We have Catherine Soa who ran. We mentioned Christopher. We mentioned Jessica. I'm just scrolling through this. Jamie Robbins and her boyfriend were able to run it. Kimberly Hutchinson, Samantha ran it. Nancy ran it. We mentioned Trisan and Jamie and Jessica. And Albert did not run, but he was one of the teachers for the stretching / foam rolling class at the expo, which we thought was really cool. I would like to eventually sit down and have a conversation with Christopher Scott. I know he's been brought up to us a few times. I think he's run. I don't want to get into what he's done because I don't want to mess that up. But let's just say he might be famous in the world of running Disney event races. So we want to get in touch with him. He posted, so we definitely want to sit down with him. But moving laterally with the whole running thing, Disney announced the Star Wars Rival Run weekend, which is going to take place from April 4th to the 7th. Some of the things they wanted to talk to you guys about was April 5th was the Star Wars Rival 5K, and the theming for these weekends have been released. So the 5K is Finn. All right, so before I do this, I'm going to mess these people's names up, people. Okay? I'm going to do my absolute best here. We're going to try and get this done, all right?
I wasn't going to bust your chops, dude.
5K, Finn and Captain Phasma.
Yep, you got that right.
Whew. All right. The 10K, which is April 6th, is Han Solo and Boba Fett. Boba Fett.
But the only thing I wanted to know is it the young Han Solo or the old Han Solo? That's all I wanted to know.
I have no answer for that. April 7th, we have the half marathon, which is Rey and Kylo Ren. Then they have the April 6th-7th is the Star Wars Rival Run Challenge, so I'm assuming this is like what they did for Princess. So if you're running the 10K and the half marathon, if you do both of those, you will get another special medal on top of the 10K medal and the half medal. And if I'm not mistaken, you actually need to physically run those races and you need to physically finish those races. So if you run the 10K and you do great, you don't get swept up by the balloon ladies, great. If you get swept up in the half marathon, I found out that you don't get that medal, that special medal. You'll still get the half marathon medal, but that extra medal you don't get. Now, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but that's what I was advised during Princess. But that special rival run challenge medal is Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. So I figured that's going to be something pretty popular. And then April 6th is also the Run Disney Kids Races, which is BB-8 and BB-9E. Don't know what that is.
Okay. You don't know who BB-8 is?
I know who BB-8 is only because I see it in Toys R Us all the time. Oh, that's so sad. I can't say that anymore.
If I'm not sure, BB-9E is like a different version of BB-8. Different color scheme.
Oh, okay. So I know people were asking about the Disneyland. We have not been given any information up to date on any of the Disneyland races, but the minute we will gladly give them out to you. Now, I've got two things. One, we're going to talk to Gore. We'll talk about the Christmas party on Thursday. So this is like the halfway through the show. Let's have a meeting for a second. Thursday or possibly Tuesday. Probably Thursday, though. We will talk about the Christmas, Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. We will dive into that. Ticket prices, dates, blah, 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 even though we'll already be involved in it. I have not been able to physically watch Mickey's celebration from ABC the other night that I posted about. It's recorded. And there's a lot of news out there. I know, Chris, you saw, people were posting. I saw you did a poll. That's why I stayed very far away from that poll, because I have not watched it and I don't want my opinion skewed. So I didn't read any of the comments. So I will ask that. I saw someone comment about it earlier. Please hold said comments about Mickey's special until Thursday. I will watch it tomorrow night, and we can talk about it on Thursday.
Wow, you just don't want to be. You don't want to have the whole spoiler alert bit. Huh?
Yeah, because I've already heard numerous people tell me, "Oh my god, it was great. Oh my god, it was terrible." And I'm like, no, don't. I want to make this opinion for myself. I have a very strong opinion about things. Don't ruin this for me.
No, you. I would have never have thunk it. I mean, the thing of it is we'll go over the poll results, which I will tell you right now. There were a lot of different Disney groups that did polls on this very topic. And,
really?
Oh yeah, and it was really interesting. Yeah, there were even some comments made at some Disney groups that, quite honestly, how can I put it this way? They were made in Disney groups that, quite honestly, never say anything bad about Disney. And the comments were just really harsh. But I want you to see it. And I've only seen part of it so far. So I still have an opinion. I still have it recorded. I still have it on one of my TiVos. And we'll have to take a peek at it as well. I will say this.
Watch what you say. I swear.
I'm really
I
trying
will
to
push you in the box.
I think it was one of those things where you may not necessarily have to watch it end to end. You may skip for certain parts that may not necessarily appeal to you.
Well, I've already seen a clip by accident on Instagram that I will not watch.
Okay. Well, there's also one other thing that, while we're talking about it, I think this is really cool. That for Mickey's 90th, a little while ago, I posted in the WDW community page that the Disney Channel YouTube channel was playing nonstop Mickey Mouse cartoons 24 hours a day.
Like the one you see in the hotel room?
Yes, very much so. But maybe, except I think they're different, slightly different, but they're like the newer Mickey and Minnie kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're still going on, even now.
Oh, cool.
So, and the funny thing is, I mean, so like parts of Saturday, we just hung out as a family and watched Mickey Mouse cartoons for an hour. You know, it was just like, oh yeah, this is awesome. So
I actually saw the clip of Mickey Mouse like sitting in this big leather chair like a gangster, and someone started singing The Bare Necessities, and I got very excited on Instagram. I was like, this has made my day that much better. But then I saw Mickey with like fireworks going off behind him, and he was like doing a pop song, and I was like, I think I might fast forward to that part.
Watch it. I really want to hear what you have to say.
I absolutely will.
I really do.
Speaking of entertainment,
yes.
Last week Disney revealed their schedule for the holiday themed programming for the upcoming season, and we now have a better idea of the impacts that their production will have at the Disney parks. Filming for upcoming holiday television specials will take place at Magic Kingdom from November 9th to the 11th. So we are 3 days out. It's really the 8th, though. So be prepared, people. If you were in the parks during this time, it's a great time to get a sneak peek of what's going on. It's a great time to get your beautiful faces on the TV screen. I was on TV. What?
Don't count on that.
I got my face on TV when I was at Disney.
For one of the tapings of the Christmas things?
No, but for when the Astros came through after they won the World Series.
Yeah.
There's me with my big behind the ears podcast like shirt on, filming away, and I'm in the background.
I'll just say right now, if anybody wants to go and try to get their 15 minutes of fame, or 15 seconds of fame type of thing, don't count on it, because the streets are going to be lined with basically cast members and family members. It's going to be very difficult. Or actually, they're not even really doing the parade route. It's mainly going to be like the main stage entertainment, and a lot of that is actually done before the park is open. So. So there are just some things to take into consideration. I mean, it's not what you think. The parade taping is not like, there's a lot of television magic that goes on along those lines. Been there, done that, have a t-shirt. Actually, I got more than one t-shirt that trip. But, don't go there thinking that you're going to end up on TV. Just, you may. Although the funny part I will say is that I was in a spot that was perfect to see my daughter when she marched and cheered down Main Street during one of the tapings. I was right on the side. I was wearing a big Mickey jersey. You could not miss me. And for some reason, I was out of focus.
Oh, really?
It was one of those things where you just couldn't see people type of thing. They were very focused on certain people and certain things who had a certain look. Yeah. I'll just say that. Anyway.
So Thursday, November 8th, Let the Magic Begin. The welcome show will be in audio only. Friday, November 9th, Let the Magic Begin. Welcome show will be audio only. The following will not take place is Mickey's Royal Friendship Fair. That's what it's called, though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The castle show, as we always like to refer to it.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of confused for a second. So then Saturday, November 10th, Let the Magic Begin. Welcome show will also be audio only. The following will not take place that day. Pay attention. Mickey's Royal Friendship Fair, A Frozen Holiday Wish, Once Upon a Time. Those are three things that will not be happening on Saturday. Sunday, Let the Magic Begin, audio only, and the following will not take place: the Mickey's Royal Friendship Fair, A Frozen Holiday Wish, Once Upon a Time. Additionally, the Flag Retreat typically takes place at Magic Kingdom at 5:15 p.m. daily, but on November 11th only on the 11th, so Sunday, a special enhanced Flag Retreat will take place in honor of Veterans Day.
Cool. Very cool.
So, a couple dates to take care of. I know some other people want to touch on some. I don't want to touch on the whole incident happening in Animal Kingdom. There's too many random stories coming out right now that no one can confirm anything going on. So we as a show are going to step away from that topic and wait for more information to come out. But I have some more dates. Yeah. Disney announces the New Year's Eve Fort Wilderness Beach dessert party, which I've been dying to try one of these. Walt Disney World announced a new way for guests to ring in the new year from the beach at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground. A new dessert party serving up sweets and specialty beverages with beautiful views of Seven Seas Lagoon and fireworks spectacular from Magic Kingdom. Kick off your evening by indulging in an assortment of freshly prepared desserts, seasonal fruits, flavorful cheeses, and refreshments, including beer and wine.
Where is it at?
This is over at Fort Wilderness Beach. What is that called? Clementine's Beach, something like
that.
Oh, it's a weird name. Yeah, there's a name for that beach. The party will take place on, obviously, the 31st of December. The party will start at 10 p.m. and run to approximately 12:30 a.m. on January 1st. This is tough. Cost is $99 per adult, $59 for children, not including tax. Gratuity is also not included. That is not including tax, gratuity not included or required. Reservations are strongly recommended and can be made either online or simply calling 407-WW-DINE.
And what time does it start? I mean, it ends at
12:30. 10 p.m. So 2.5 hours for $100 a person, and you get some desserts, some cheeses. But they said beer and wine. So is that free? I'm assuming that's inside the ticket price.
I would assume that's inside the ticket price. And if you
can I drink $100 worth?
Wait, can you?
And that sounds terrible, but when you do anything, when it comes to like a pre-ticket event, I always sit down in my head and say, okay, what would they normally charge me? What do I need to eat and said drink to make back my money? Like every time I go on a cruise, I sit down before I go on a cruise. I'm like, okay, Danny, we need to prepare yourself because you need to eat and drink your worth. Now, granted, here's a little fun tip. Look it up if you don't believe me. Do you know all inclusives and cruise lines are known to put a chemical in their food that, I'm trying to do this politically correct, backs you up a little, tightens, like it makes you stay full?
Never on a Disney cruise. I'll tell you that right now.
I bet you $1 million they do it on the Disney cruise too.
No. Because I went on as a passenger. I came off as cargo. I mean, oh
no, you still eat a lot. Don't get me wrong, but they are not going to lose their money on it. But either way, neither here nor there. That's a true fact. You can look it up. Don't believe me. I don't think that is worth $100. A family of 4 with 2 kids. You're looking at $320.
Well, if you're
for a 2.5 hour event,
or $400 if you're talking about 2 kids that happen to be 10 and older.
Yeah, or $400 if you're talking about 2 kids. Yeah.
Oh, plus tax. So, you're hitting $430 ish. And if you tip on that, you're breaking $500 if you really feel like it. But if it's not required, then chances are I wouldn't do it. Listen, I mean, you and I have done a dessert party before, and I liked it, but I'm at that point right now where I'm not. I can't eat that much in dessert. Let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that.
Maybe cheese.
Let's be fair. Let's be really fair about this for a minute. You're getting a fireworks show, you're getting beach access, you're having a special party. You should, if you think about it, are you going to be able to eat half of that in value type of thing? So are you going to be able to drink $50 worth of beer or wine and eat, food that would equate to that? Because if you think of it that way, it's almost like when you do hoop-de-doo, it's a little more expensive than your average dinner, but you're getting a really cool show at the same time. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, you have to, take that into consideration a little bit. So
now Megan's asking, did we miss talking about the new Magic Hours of Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom? Did I miss an email? Because I don't.
no,
I was just.
I think
I
it
didn't
was,
see anything about that.
No, I think it was when you were referring to the incident at the Animal Kingdom Lodge the other day. I think that was.
Oh no, that has nothing to do with that.
No, it was. I think it was a little bit of mistaken thought process there. So no problem, Megan. But you're more than welcome to ping us on the side if you'd like to, if you have a specific question about that.
Okay, so we have 10 minutes.
Yes.
So we're gonna end it with this. And if we end early, we end early. We'll find something to talk about. Gordon needs some opinions, and he is in crunch time as they're scrambling to get a couple of those ADRs out.
Sure.
Opinions on Beer Garden, Cape May Cafe, Boma, and 50s Primetime.
Well, you and I just talked about Cape May the other day. And to be very honest, I love Cape May Cafe, as I think it's one of the nicest hidden gems for a character breakfast. But I will say that their clam bake in the evenings, which is basically a seafood buffet, along with, they have non-seafood items as well, and great desserts. Very, very...
Sorry, I bumped him out of the
That's
show
okay.
for a second.
No, it was all very, very good stuff. So Boma, I really like Boma. And the great part about Boma is that, it is a buffet. It's over at Animal Kingdom Lodge, over at Jumbo House. The nice part is that there's a lot of African flair in their cooking. I like to get samples of everything, try what I like, and then go back and get, dinner serving sizes of the things that I really liked. What were some of the other ones? Beer Garden, I've never tried. I haven't been to Beer Garden before. What was the other one?
50s Primetime.
I have not been to 50s Primetime in probably 10 years, so I'm not the right person to ask.
Yeah, and Chris's last time at 50s Primetime was not the best of situations.
It wasn't. But
Are you getting that back, by the way?
No, I'm not. But notice how I did not say I didn't like 50s Primetime.
You're a better man than me.
The thing is, I'm just merely saying that it's time for me to revisit it. So we'll have to give it a try. So we'll have to see. But I do like Cape May. I really like Boma. I think those are great choices. Yeah, I will give you that. So.
My biggest thing would be I haven't tried most of those things on the menu that you produced to us. Cape May is something that will be on slate, but your trip is going to be prior to mine. 50s Primetime, I think the kids would love it. And I think you guys get a kick out of it as well. Because it's going to bring back some of the childhood memories, whether you were alive during some of these shows where you were like me, where your parents grew up watching them, so it was always on in the house. Just bringing back the black and whites and the old 50s, 60s themed kitchens and the little bar they have out front. And just honestly, the service, they'll make the kids laugh. They have a really good time. And it is a change of pace in food where, don't get me wrong, some of their food is just glorified, hotel cafeteria food on a plate. But some of it really is home cooking. Yeah. You feel like you're back at home. It's the warmth of the cooking. The flavors are very good. I'm a big fan of 50s Primetime. And I mean, that place has been so hard to get ADRs for in the past, though. So
can I give an alternative?
Yeah.
Gordon, I would probably say, depending on how old your kids are and whether or not they would like this, I would also say Sci-Fi Diner as well, over also in Hollywood Studios, the Sci-Fi Drive-In. Personally, I liked it. I thought the food was actually a lot better than what a lot of other people said. Then their desserts were really good as well. I really enjoyed it. I've been there a couple times, once with my wife and once with my kids. And to be very honest, it's not exactly the most, I don't want to call it not family friendly, but it's kind of like if you want to sit in one of the cars, it's like 2 and 2 seating, like you're in a car. So it seems weird because you're not just like, if you want to talk to your kids and they're in the back seat, you have to kind of like turn around, like, how you do when you're on a trip. Don't make me come back there, type of thing. But it's really cool.
See, and I didn't like their menu. I thought it was a glorified Applebee's, but if that's what fits your family's palate, there's nothing wrong with that by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, and Christina actually mentions, what about Hoop-de-Doo? Hoop-de-Doo is actually an entirely different type of dining experience because it is indeed, a dinner show, and one that I would highly recommend. Danny, I think you and I actually talked about it just recently. I've always enjoyed it. I've been there several times, and I've never had a bad experience there. I love it. I would go there every single time if I was, inclined to do so. But I do try to spread out my dining love to a lot of different places because that's just me.
And I was going to tell Gordon that's why I went like this, and he basically said the same thing. I know he was leaning towards doing the Christmas party, which essentially is going to run you a few $100s. Hoop-de-Doo can easily run a family of 4, $200 and some odd dollars, depending on where you seat. If you're down low on the floor, adults are like $90 a person. That.
Yeah, it's not cheap. I mean, again, it's an event. It's a dinner show, and the fact is that I would probably say that if you're going and you want to go to the Christmas party, and you've never been to the Christmas party, and you would rather go to the Christmas party, go to the Christmas party.
Yeah,
that's kind of my take, but some of the options that we provided, I actually think are. I think they're really good choices. I mean, it's just, I think you have to see what your kids would like as well. And also take a look at menus online, easily accessible through many different venues. And then you get an idea of also if there's a cost involved. Obviously if you're picking some stuff that's inside of a park, that's something to consider in a sense of your planning. But at the same time, if you're picking something away from a park, you also have to consider your travel time to there as well. So
very true.
You kind of have to look at those items like, Cape May Cafe. I think it's great to go there, like hit up a really cool quick fast pass or a single rider line at Test Track, and then go over to Cape May for kind of a later breakfast. That's a great timing. Or if you don't want to do illuminations and you're over there already, go over there for dinner, or go over there for dinner and then stop over illuminations. It's one of those things. You can do a lot with it. So I think. He also mentioned here we already booked all the ones I asked opinions on just because we were lucky enough to snag them on no notice, and we just didn't want to keep all of them. Okay, that's great. So hopefully that'll give you some information. And Cape May has been on your hit list for a while. Excellent, Gordon. I don't think you're going to go wrong. You're going to have.
I've been dying to do Cape May, man. If I don't get Cape May in this time, I'm going to be real upset.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that you're able to get it. It's really good, but also don't count out the idea of getting a later ADR or a later walk up, because you can do that. I've done that. You may have to wait 15, 20 minutes or something like that, but you can do it there in most cases. Your mileage may vary.
Do you have any final things you'd like to touch on before we wrap up here?
I just kind of want to remind our listeners that as we approach the winter season, we're going to talk about the Christmas program or the Christmas offerings at Disney quite a bit over the next couple months. This also becomes kind of a crazy time for both Danny and myself along the lines of scheduling. So we just want to remind our listeners that, if for some reason we're running a little bit late on our live shows, or if we're, if it's like just me and not Danny, it doesn't mean that anything's wrong with Danny or anything like that. It's just sometimes he's working extra late. If it's just Danny and not me, it means I'm dealing with, making sure my kids are getting to where they need to go, etc., while my wife is working or something like that. There's other things. We're going to try to keep on our usual schedule. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, the best way of getting a hold of us is either you message us through the Behind Ears Podcast Facebook page, or even better yet, sending us an email over at behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from everybody, especially if you have any special requests for the holiday season. And at the same time, we may even bring in a few extra special guests between now and the end of the year, especially during the times that Danny knows he's going to be MIA due to WORK. So,
and I promise you, I will be MIA. I will miss shows. Shows will start late because I'll end up falling asleep prior to the show starting. If you know what I do, I'm basically Santa Claus in a truck, so I get busy, and it's slowly starting a little bit. So Just bear with us. We this will be our third Christmas together, and the first one was rough. Last year went pretty smooth, and this year we think will go even smoother. So with that being said, Mr. Chris, take us away.
Excellent. You heard the show, and we hope you want more. Well, feel free to join us over at our social media platforms. Instagram and our Facebook page can be found at Behind the Ears Podcast. Our webpage is behindtheearspodcast.net, and our email is behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @BehindTheEarsPC. And come and join the conversation about all things Disney over at the WDW community page. Don't forget to rate and review the show over at iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as it really helps us get the word out about the show. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or the Podbean app. Also, you can listen to us on Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and via Alexa and Google Home.
And that was another live recording of Behind the Ears Podcast. I was Uncle Danny. Well, I still am. I didn't go anywhere. I am Uncle Danny. That is Mr. Chris. We want to thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for watching, listening, downloading, participating, and all the above. This show would be nothing without all of you. It would just be two men yelling into a mic about Disney. So we thank you. Don't forget, like Chris says, follow us on all our social media platforms. Trisha would kill me if I didn't remind everybody. Please join the WDW Facebook community page. That is WDW Walt Disney World Community, and that's on Facebook. With that being said, I'm gonna say, there's really nothing else. Tuck your kids in tight. Wear your seatbelts. Be nice to another human tomorrow. I am Uncle Danny. Salutations.
And I'm Mr. Chris. Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate your support, all your comments, all your feedback. Really, we're just really glad to have you a part of our Disney family. And you know what? We can't wait for some of the upcoming shows, some of the different things we got planned. But until the next time we meet, we really hope that you have an awesome, epic, and magical day. Take care.